You know, I haven't talked about this man right here in a while. Last time I talked about Nick Sirianni, he was a punching bag who was holding the Eagles back with some atrocious in-game management skills. Now, he's a Super Bowl champion who pressed all the right buttons down the stretch in the playoffs to give the Eagles their second Lombardi trophy. And even though the Eagles have not looked as sharp or as clean this year by any stretch of the imagination, thanks in part to what looks like a massive whiff on Sirianni's part with the offensive coordinator, following the departure of Kellen Moore to the New Orleans Saints as their head coach, the Eagles are still riding high, well atop the atrocious NFC East with a 6-2 record and holding on to a 3-point lead in this abomination of a Monday Night Football game. Trust me, this game was bad. Matt LaFleur was just as dumb down the stretch with some of the stuff that he did. And if you couldn't watch this game because you have YouTube TV, I kind of envy you. But the Eagles are in a good spot here. You've got 4th down with around 30 seconds left, and the Packers have no timeouts down by 3. All you gotta do is punt the ball, pin them deep, not allow any crazy plays, and you win the game. You pin them deep, barring a miracle, this one is over. So let's see how this punt goes.
The division is there for the taking, and the offense stays out there on 4th and 6.
All right, you know what? I don't hate this. You send the offense out there and try to get them with the hard count. If it works, great. You're now faced with 4th and 1, and you can run the tush push and win the game. Heck, the Jets pulled this off against the Browns on Sunday. The Lions pulled this off against the Jaguars in 2016. Get them with the hard count, and if it doesn't work, take the delay of game, give Braden Mann some more space on the punt to work with and avoid a touchback, and pin them deep. I am more than fine with this decision.
And they are.
Oh no, they're calling a play. Oh no, they're calling a play. Oh no, why are you calling a freaking play? Nick Sirianni, you absolute moron!
Airs it out. A.J. Brown. It is broken up. And the play made by Valentine.
Yup, of course that happened. Welcome to Dumb Decisions. Before I break down what happened here, this whole series is about taking in-depth look at decisions made during games that were clearly awful from the start. This isn't something to look bad in hindsight. Rather, this is something to look awful almost immediately. These are moves where your gut instinct tells you right away that there is no way this can possibly work. And sure enough, your gut instinct was smarter than that of an NFL head coach. And for this one, we're taking a look at the mind of Philadelphia Eagles head coach, Nick Sirianni. All the primetime games gave me a headache this week, but leave it for us to save the worst for last. And it's all thanks to this man right here. It's kind of baffling how this man won a Super Bowl. It's kind of baffling how this man right here is a legitimate Super Bowl champion, and how guys like Bud Grant and Marv Levy never won the big one. Yet this man can call himself a champion. His in-game management skills are atrocious, and it feels like time and time again, in a close situation, he finds a way to press all of the wrong buttons. He did the one thing that you couldn't do in that spot, and while he's extremely fortunate that it didn't come back to bite him, seeing as the Eagles won the game because Brandon McManus is not a good kicker anymore, and the Packers decided not to keep Lucas Haversick as their kicker for some inexplicable reason, despite being better and younger, it is still worthy of scrutiny, because it is an absolute miracle that this team is 7-2 with how they've looked at times, as it truly feels like 2023 all over again. So with that being said, let's take a look at why going for it on 4th and 6 near midfield when you've got a 3-point lead is a really bad idea. And before I go any further, I should note that I live stream all the primetime games on this channel. So I was live for this train wreck of a game, which, by the way, the primetime slate this year, ever since that incredible Steelers-Bengals game in the battle of the social security quarterbacks and Aaron Rodgers and Joe Flacco, has absolutely stunk. There's been nothing good in primetime for the past month. And you can bet your bottom dollar that I, along with the rest of my audience, was completely confused and befuddled as to why on earth Sirianni would not only go for it in that spot, but would have that play be the play that got called. Take a look at my real-time reaction, just so that you know that this isn't hindsight bias or anything along those lines, because I did not see this coming, and not in a good way. I wonder if this is just take the, like, get him with a hard count, and then you punt it away. I'm not sure they snap this. They will snap it. They're going. Hurts. Deep shot. Brown. Incomplete. And I am stunned. Are you kidding me? At this point in the game, you've got three options. Option one, punt the ball away and pin them deep. In the worst case scenario, you can't keep it out of the end zone and the Packers get the ball at the 20. But that's still not bad because they have no timeouts and limited time to work with. So they need to get about 40 yards to get into field goal range. In the best case scenario, you pin them inside the 10 or inside the 5. And the Packers need an absolute miracle with that little time left to get into range to tie it up. Option 2, kick the field goal and make it a 6-point game. If you miss, it sinks, and the Packers get the ball near midfield. But if you get it, the Packers now need a touchdown. And assuming you just kick it out of the back of the end zone on the ensuing kickoff, they need to find a way to go 65 yards to get the win when they have no timeouts available at their disposal. Either of those options would have been perfectly fine. Either increase your margin and increase what the Packers need to do in order to not be losing at the end of regulation, or increase the required distance that the Packers need to go in order to tie the game. However, you went with option 3, which I didn't even think was on the table, which is to go for it and throw a deep pass down the field on a day where there have been 17 combined points in 59 and a half minutes. Normally, I say that if you have a chance to win the game right then and there, then you should do it. No questions asked. The best case scenario is that you win the game. And if that's always on the table, then do it. I've always been a believer in that. If it's 4th and 1, heck yeah, I'm going for it and running the tush push before its inevitable ban this offseason, and I'm icing the game right then and there. 4th and 2, I'm going for it and trusting my guys to get 2 yards and put this one on ice. But it needs to be realistic and needs to fit the flow of the game. Yes, you can end the game if you get the first down on 4th and 6. But is that realistic to do? Especially seeing as if you don't get it, the Packers have the ball near midfield and only need 1 first down to get into range? And is it realistic when on your previous 2 drives, you had a grand total of 1 play go for more than 5 yards? Is it realistic to do when your wide receivers caught a grand total of 6 passes all game? Is it realistic to do when you tried throwing the ball in the previous drive on 2nd and 3rd down using similar logic and didn't get it, thereby stopping the clock to sort of get you in this mess in the first place? Yes, the reward of getting this is the ultimate reward. You win the game. But the risk is just too high and not worth it, especially with whatever the heck that play call was. But maybe I'm wrong. I want to hear what Nick Sirianni himself had to say about the decision. I want to hear what the man of the hour decided to do, and how he decided to defend this to the Philadelphia media. Because trust me, they had some questions. And this is what Sirianni had to say. Take a listen.
So the end of the game, we're up 3, and I would have liked to be in a little closer to kick a field goal, but the closer we would have got, the more. Again, you play every situation a little bit differently, but I think it was into the wind on that one. I knew the kick would have to be a little bit lower trajectory of a kick on that particular one. I got a lot of faith in our offense. It didn't work out on this one. We just didn't get it. But the decision, I stand put on that decision. especially being up 3, because you go up 6, they're still going to need a touchdown, being a Hail Mary, everything like that. So we would have ended the game if we would have got that, and I got a lot of faith in our guys to be able to do that. But the reason I didn't kick the field goal, again, being up 3, and also just this trajectory into the wind there on that particular one.
Okay, so, how did this man win a Super Bowl? I'm genuinely convinced that I could take a team to the Super Bowl if this man can, because this is just word vomit. Nothing about this line of thinking made any sense. Okay, so you don't want to try the field goal because it's a windy day and you're not close enough where you're confident in your kicker, Jake Elliott, to make the kick. Fine, I can respect that. No issues there. There's a target line that you have in mind. If you don't get to the target line, you're not going to try it. It's almost like how you have a pretty good idea of how a pole vaulter is going to do before their event. You have a pretty good idea of how your kicker is going to do from a range perspective. I'm not saying that Sirianni should have tried a field goal there if Elliott didn't feel comfortable with it and if the wind was a concern, especially with the part about it being a lower trajectory and it potentially getting blocked. No qualms with that. But the rest of that statement? How do you make heads or tails of that? He was terrified of kicking the field goal because in his mind, a field goal only puts you up by 6 instead of 3. And he was scared that the Packers would get a Hail Mary. I kid you not, the reason he did this was because he was terrified that the Packers would get a Hail Mary. I'm not saying you shouldn't be afraid of a Hail Mary. You should not give the opponent a chance to throw a Hail Mary if it's at all feasible, because obviously, while unlikely, they can be converted. But to base your entire strategy around being scared that the opposing team successfully gets one of these plays to work? Let's do some math. If you punt the ball away in that spot, let's just say the Packers start at the 10-yard line. They need to get about 50 yards to try a field goal and tie it up. And if they get it to the 50, so they get 40 yards, they can go for a Hail Mary. Your defense have been playing well all game, and the Packers can't use the middle of the field because they have no timeouts and don't have a lot of plays to work with starting inside the 10. So just to get into Hail Mary range where you can lose the game, they need 40 yards. If you go for it on 4th down and don't get it, guess what? Aside from the fact that the Packers can use the middle of the field, oh yeah, the Packers are basically starting near Hail Mary range. They get 1 first down, your biggest concern just came true. You were worried about a Hail Mary. So if a field goal wasn't on the table, and never was because of the wind, you decide to take the option that gives the Packers the best chance at converting that? How does that make sense? And again, this isn't me saying that you shouldn't factor the Hail Mary by the opposing team into your coaching decisions if necessary. If a team has the ball at the 30, I hate the idea of giving them a free 15 yards so they can reach the end zone. If there are 10 seconds left in the game, I'm kicking it into the landing zone and not out of the back of the end zone. Because if I do the latter, it's a touchback, the other team gets it at the 35, and they have time for 1 or 2 plays to get closer and reach. This is not me saying anything like that. But in a spot like this, nothing about the logic makes any sense. I fail to see any logical line of thinking or reasoning here. You're scared of the Packers, who have scored 7 points all game, and have a quarterback in Jordan Love who has never pulled off a Hail Mary in his life, will get a Hail Mary. So you choose the option that, if it fails, and may remind you, has a very high probability of failing based on everything that's happened thus far in the game, makes it extremely likely that he gets in that position and makes it tougher on your defense because you have more of the field to guard, while neglecting the option that will force the Packers to pull off a miracle just to get into the position to get a second miracle. Am I missing something with this? Please tell me I'm missing something, because my head hurts, my brain is tied in knots just trying to figure out the logic here. It's contradictory, it's counterintuitive, it's baffling, it's some of the worst end-of-game management I've seen all year. And the Eagles, and this man that you've been watching this entire time, have to be extremely fortunate that it did not bite them in the butt. So what do we learn from all of this? If your logic for deciding a play makes it seem like you're going in circles and coming to a completely different conclusion than what you started at, then don't call that play. If you have a chance to pin the opposing team deep and force them to drive an insanely long way with no timeouts left and no real time on the clock, then do that, even if the other option is going for it in a very tricky situation. Just because you can win the game with a successful play doesn't mean you should always call that play. It's the same reason you punted away on 4th and 15 at your own 15-yard line when the other team has no timeouts and you're winning. And if you've got a ton of talent on your team, you too can win games as a head coach in the NFL, even if you might not have the slightest clue of what's going on. Because when all these elements are in play, you can't exactly be surprised when this play backfires. Talk about a dumb decision. Check out our live streaming schedule for the next few days. We're live every single day on this channel, whether we're covering a sporting event or playing GeoGuessr or just taking your requests. So make sure you like and subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a single time that we go live and so that you can join this community. Also, thanks to all our members and our Patreon supporters who get exclusive perks like their name at the end of each video, members-only Q&A streams, and cool emojis to use on videos and during streams. See how you can join this community and become a member or a Patreon member by clicking the link in the description below.